In this video, I'm going to break down 5 reasons why you're getting shit clients and shit buyers and tell you how to pretty easily fix them. Because if you've been in this game for 5 minutes, then you've onboarded a couple of clients or had a couple of buyers and you notice that they are excited in the beginning. They want to, get started, start getting the results, so they binge content for a couple of days. They tell you how motivated they are, but then a couple of days later, or I don't know, a week, that excitement wears off, right? You start noticing that the implementation slows down. They start complaining about things being hard. They stop following through, etc. And you start asking yourself these questions like, are they going to quit? Like, are they going to stop paying? Are they, going to start asking for refunds? Or worse, are they going to go online, make social media posts, and sort of paint you as this villain for not getting them the result that they wanted, even though you've given them all the tools and all the content that they need to succeed, given that your offer and your product is good, right? And that's why in this video I'm going to explain why this keeps happening and how to stop these people from entering your business at all, so you can work with better clients who implement, get results, and ultimately give you great testimonials that help your business get even more clients and get good reviews, etc. Right? So, here is the reframe. Uncommitted clients don't just sneak in, they don't just appear out of nowhere. You actually invite them, right? And so, ultimately, this is a positioning problem. This is a problem of who you are actually attracting with the signals that you are putting out there, right? And the wrong signals attract the wrong people. And the thing is that sometimes, a lot of times, business owners do things that they believe are good, that attract the right people, but actually just attract these bad people. And sometimes they don't even know the things that they're doing that might be causing that, but hopefully this video will give you a lot of clarity. So let's go into mistake number 1, and that is selling effortless. Okay, I see this happening a lot where people try to position their offer in a way where getting the end result is like super easy. But if we actually just take a second and think about this, if you're saying that getting the result will be effortless, you're going to attract people who want it to be effortless, right? So you get people who really want like relief, but no actual like responsibility because they're expecting to not actually put in any work, right? Which means that they quit at the moment of friction, right? Now, an example of this would be like make money online. I mean, we see this with, investing offers. We see this with business opportunity offers where people are trying to position this new business model as this, super easy, effortless way to start making 10K a month in 30 days or whatever, right? We've seen, tons of those. And the people that actually go to those offers are just broke people who don't have any discipline, who don't want to put in any work, because the way the marketer has positioned this offer is like, oh, you can sit, with your feet up and you just type a little bit on your keyboard and you make money. That's like email marketing offers in a nutshell. It's like you don't need any experience. Like you just type on a keyboard, dude. Just type on a keyboard and you make like $200 an hour or whatever, right? You're going to get people who are expecting that, right? And so when they get into the course, it's like, oh, you got to learn this new skill. It's going to take like 6 months to learn copywriting. and then you have to do cold outreach for, another 2 years. And it's like, well, don't be surprised when like 90% of people actually quit, right? And in weight loss, for example, this happens all the time as well. So all of these coaches and whatever on social media, they're like, here's how to lose 30 pounds while eating pizza, twice a week and not going to the gym. It's like, well, on the surface, that sort of looks like an attractive offer. But again, think about this for just 1 second. You're attracting people who are not even committed enough to get off their ass and go to the gym. They want to be at home and do like at home exercises, right? And I mean, I know that some people, for example, in the weight loss market, they are, insecure, they have some fears about going to the gym, etc. But ultimately, this also signals that like low effort. And the food thing is like, yeah, you don't need any discipline. Like, you can just eat whatever you want and you're gonna lose weight. It's like, don't be surprised when you're going to attract people who then don't want to put in any effort, who don't get results, who quit, etc. Right? And so that sort of begs the question now: should you make it hard for people to get the results? And no, you shouldn't intentionally make it hard. I don't want you to get like the wrong idea. This is more about actually being honest and being upfront and setting the right expectations for the program or what have you that you are offering. Don't try to, say that it's going to be effortless if you know that it's not going to be effortless, right? And so it's really just about setting the right expectations, right? And so mistake number 2 is actually being too cheap or constantly discounting. And you have probably heard some things about this before, like the effects that price actually has. And most things are very true, because price isn't just a revenue decision, it is a psychological one. In other words, people who invest are invested. It's just as simple as that, right? And I know a lot of people on social media are trying to like signal and say things like, oh, I'm so affordable, everyone else is so expensive. It's like, F those guys, look at me, I'm so cheap. But the truth is that being cheap is actually a disservice to your clients and buyers. Now, why is that? Well, first of all, it goes back to the fact that people who invest are invested. And so if they put more money in, they're going to be more invested in their results, right? So they are more likely to actually implement, put the effort in, etc., because they made a sacrifice, right? But also, when you charge more money, the transformation will feel so much better. And people deserve to feel that transformation. And when people are more invested, again, gives you better testimonials because they have way more positive emotion. It's much stronger, right? But there is some nuance to this, right? So I'm not saying that you should take like your $7 ebook and price it at $1,000 if it's not worth $1,000, right? This is more towards the high transformational programs, such as, the high ticket offers, the weeks long programs where people have to be invested for a long period of time before that they can get the end result. If it's something that is quick to consume, it's meant to just give people momentum, a fast win, then obviously like having it at the lower ticket price points makes more sense, right? And I'm going to get into that a little bit later as well, because there is another layer to this that is very crucial for attracting the best people, especially to high ticket offers, right? And so don't just take this at face value. Use your brain a little bit. High ticket offers, the high transformational, higher effort offers, actually make sure that the price reflects not only the transformation but the sort of depth of the program. So you don't need to, signal that you're so cheap and everything like that. You're just going to get bad people to your business, and you're not going to make as much money. You're not going to get as good of testimonials, etc. And that plays into this, last point here, which is the signal itself of being cheap. Your price tells a story about who you are, right? As the business owner, how much you believe in your stuff and how much you value your stuff, right? And so when being cheap, you do actually attract worse people, because the premium buyer, the person that is looking for the best, who wants a deep transformation and they're really serious, if you're offering a 12-week coaching program for $1,000, they are probably less likely to go with you if someone else is offering one for $3,000, because that $3,000 option seems like something that is more likely to actually get them the end result, because the pricing of it signals premium. It signals, hey, if you want the best results, if you want the best, you should go here and not to you, who's only charging $1,000, right? So price is a multi-layered sort of principle, if that makes sense, right? Now, mistake number 3 is basically trying to close everyone, trying to get just as many sales as humanly possible, okay? And so people don't put up any type of barriers really as to who can join a program, a course, or whatever, and who cannot. And so it shows up as, anyone is welcome to join, and it's very easy to do so. And this is especially the case if you have, let's say, salespeople selling for you, because they obviously want a commission check themselves. So they really try to close everyone, and they think less about how this person is going to show up inside of the program and how well they're going to do, and cares more about making sure that they get paid, right? And this means that you have a way higher risk of really just getting people who are not committed, who will not implement, who will quit, etc., right? Because you're in this sort of mindset of, oh, I need to close everyone, I need to scale, I need to make sales. And it's basically comes from a place of desperation. So there's no or poor disqualification, right? Where you're not really like picking up the signals that the other person is giving you on how committed they are, how well they would do inside the program, etc. And so what happens is that sometimes, and I see this pretty often with reviews and stuff like that, someone who bought a program, they leave a very bad review because they didn't get the result, or they had the wrong expectations. They say something along the lines of, well, the person on the call said I was going to get this thing, or that something was included and it really wasn't, and they didn't really tell me about this perhaps negative thing, or about, the effort or whatever. And it's because the person that they spoke to wasn't trying to disqualify. They were just trying to get the person into the program, right? And so the sort of antidote to this is what I call the barrier strategy, where instead of trying to look at each prospect or each potential buyer as someone you need to close or someone that you want to close, you actually just start looking for reasons to not close them. Like, you think of the reasons to disqualify them, right? It's almost so you sort of flip your priorities. Instead of like trying to qualify them, you're trying to disqualify them, right? And you can signal this on social media and on your landing pages and stuff as well, where you explicitly say who this is not for and who this is for. For example, you can have application processes, and if people are just putting in garbage answers and not putting in any effort into it, like, don't try to close that person. Like, they're not serious. Like, the person who actually puts in effort into the application is the person who is way more serious, right? And when it comes to signaling who this is for and who this is not for, a lot of people sort of just half-ass this, and they do it for the look of this not being for everyone, but they're not really serious about it. And so they'll say, you know, this isn't for you if you don't want to scale your business, right? It's very just, I mean, everyone wants to scale their business, so it's not actually disqualifying anyone, right? And so you actually need to be more direct, let's say, more ruthless. I don't know if that's the right word, with your disqualification, like with your signals on who this isn't for, right? And you will see that the people who make it through all your filters and all your barriers will be like 10 times better than your average client when it comes to implementation, getting results, and just their overall attitude. So, mistake number 4 is being a friend instead of a mentor. This happens so much, especially on social media nowadays, because everyone is sort of trying to go viral. And so they're going after all of this, like likes, engagement, etc. And what happens is that they get sort of friends, they get fans, but they don't actually attract people who are serious buyers looking for change. And the reason is quite simple. When you make very viral content that gets a lot of engagement, it's usually something that is very broad. It's something that is very agreeable. And that means that people just sort of see you as this content creator, right? And not actually someone who is an expert or someone who legitimately solves a problem in a great way and gets people results. It's just, there's no polarization. It's just this trying to be agreeable and trying to just get engagement. And oftentimes this just results in people getting either no buyers or very just poor buyers who don't feel any deep pain, who are not looking for a deep transformation, because you don't talk about those things. If you talk about problems, specific problems, those things don't get a lot of engagement. They don't go viral. However, they convert and they give you much better clients who are actually suffering from something and who want a solution to that suffering, right? And this does not mean that you need to be some fucking rock or just some dull, I don't know, sloth or whatever, who doesn't have any personality or humor. Obviously those things are important because ultimately people, you know, connect with people. But if you are just a friend, they will also treat you like a friend and not as this mentor expert figure, right? So there is a little bit of balance, but usually people tend to go too much on the friend aspect. Mistake number 5 is selling high ticket to complete strangers. This might sound a little weird, but let me explain this. So when it comes to high ticket, right, you might be getting a lot of people on your calls or in your conversations who don't actually seem serious, right? They might look good on paper, but when it comes to actually buying, they throw around a ton of objections. They sort of try to get off the call, right? And it's easy to write them off as tire kickers, and oftentimes that is the case. However, in some cases, the reason they're not buying is not because they are unserious, but because they don't actually believe in themselves. They don't believe that they can get the result that you are offering. And it has nothing to do really with what you're offering or if it works or not. It might, work really well, and you might have some, I don't know, money back guarantee or whatever. You might have a good offer, good product, right? But people still are resistant towards it. And they might buy and they, get this sort of buyer's remorse. It's like, I don't know about this. I don't really feel it anymore. I don't want to, can I get a refund, right? They quickly sort of try to switch. So they don't really implement anything. They don't actually really try. They sort of buy. They might go through, for a couple of days, but then they have this buyer's remorse, right? And it's because they are starting to doubt themselves oftentimes, right? They're like, was a big investment. I don't know if I can do this. And it's because the result is so far away from them that they almost can't perceive themselves getting there. It's such a big jump in one go that they don't believe that they can get there, right? And a quick example of this would be like, let's say you had an offer where you helped 9-to-5ers build an 8-figure business, right? And it's a great offer. It's, a predictable way to actually build an 8-figure business. And if people just follow through, they will get there, right? The problem is that if you're talking to a 9-to-5er who has never run a business, the idea of making like 8 figures is like so far away from when they currently are. They can't even like conceive of making that amount of money, that they simply can't believe that they can get the result in one jump, right? So what you have to do is that you have to first offer them a way to make, the first $1,000 a month online, right? And then it's $10,000, and then it's 100K, right? And later on, it becomes 8 figures, right? And that's simply because sometimes we need to give people momentum and a small win before we can give them the very big win, right? And it's to sort of move them forward little by little, right? So that they can build a stronger belief in themselves, that they can ultimately get to their dream goal. And so this is where low ticket becomes very relevant, right? Where you're not trying to give people some gigantic life altering transformation. You're just trying to give people a win, some momentum, so that they can get at least unstuck and start making progress and start rolling, the ball. And that way they will not only believe more in you and your offers and your methodology, right, which increases the likelihood of them buying the high ticket stuff, but it will also make them believe more in themselves, that they can get the end result. And that's when they can actually become more serious and follow through on the bigger stuff, and not have this buyer's remorse either, where they are doubting themselves, they have a lot of fear, and it eats them up, right? So I hope that makes sense. And if you want to learn more about creating those types of low ticket offers that does exactly that, then I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, because that is going to be a lot of the things that I'm going to cover. So on that note, goodbye.